Take a break from holiday shopping and get ready for a brand new Homeworthy episode. Step inside 3 stunning Texas homes filled with holiday magic. A glamorous home sparkling with elegant decor and a dazzling holiday tablescape. Plus, a traditional Tudor where thousands of ornaments create a classic winter wonderland. And we'll visit a vibrant mid-century modern home full of vintage holiday charm. Enjoy! You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
Hey Homeworthy, I'm Bob.
And I'm Matthew.
Welcome back to Castaloma. Come on in, we can't wait to show you what we've done to the house for Christmas. I'm Bob Gibbs, welcome back to Castaloma. I am a regional director for a large insurance corporation.
And I'm Matthew Wilson. Welcome back. I work for an import furniture company based out of San Francisco and manage their regional showroom.
We're in Dallas, Texas, and we're close to White Rock Lake, which is a large natural park in Dallas. We're about 5 minutes away from the lake, and the area is a cluster of traditional homes of Tudors, Mediterraneans, and then the newest addition to the neighborhood are teardowns of big white modern farmhouses. So we got a lot of everything in this neighborhood. Well, welcome back to the living room entryway. I heard lots of you from your comments on the first round of my lack of entryway. Still don't have one, so we do the best with what we've got. Really, the only portion of the sitting room that we decorate is the mantle. And as you can see, that's probably enough. There's a lot going on in this mantle. You'll notice as we go through the house, we use a lot of flocked greenery and trees this year. So I think I'm feeling mesothelioma coming on from the amount of flocking that I've inhaled over the past couple of weeks. But this is really, while it looks complicated and over the top, and I will admit it's over the top, it's really easy to do. So it's just one very long, very good quality flocked garland. So it gives you a lot of body to stuff things in. And really all of these are just individually wired or poked into the greenery. And a lot of this is not even Christmas. So this is just, you know, if you go to your craft store or home store, these are just things that you'd put in faux arrangements. And I'm always one looking for something that's a little bit different, not so holiday. And I like the juxtaposition of not everything being shiny. So, you know, some frosted greenery in here, lots of glitter, lots of ornaments. And then tucked in here are quite a few. My grandmother, as I talked about a lot in the first episode, started me a collection of silver bells. And so there's about 40 Wallace and Toll and different silver bells woven throughout the garland. So, and then we'll move into the piano porch. All right, we're back into the music room, or as I affectionately call it, the piano porch. And I'm a big fan of tabletop trees. So if you haven't tried one, you should really do yourself a favor and try one. You can get one in every room. They're half the time to decorate. I would say they take half the ornaments, but that's a big fat lie. You can see this one's loaded down. And this one I have called my Bergdorf Goodman tree because really, with the exception of the tree itself, all of the ornaments on this tree have come from Bergdorf and are primarily Jay Strongwater, who started making ornaments, I think about 10 or 15 years ago, and I just couldn't get enough of them. And so all of these are Jay Strongwater with the exception of a couple of antique pieces scattered throughout. But I just love the detail, the old world kind of work that he does on his ornaments. Funny story, I had started collecting these about 15 years ago, and I was literally buying, you know, one a year, two maybe if they were on sale after the holidays. And I had my family over, my extended family over for Thanksgiving dinner, and the house was decorated for Christmas and a different tree, but I had started this theme. And one of my cousins said, "Tell me about that ornament." And I said, "Well, it's a designer named Jay Strongwater." And she said, "That looks expensive." And I said, "Well, they're not cheap, but you know, the quality did the spill, and she just kept pressing, and finally asked the price. I'm not going to tell you, but her response is, I could have bought a washer and dryer with that. So it's just funny that, you know, as your collections grow, I try to buy less and buy more quality. So every year I'm buying fewer ornaments, but I just try to up the game. So that's my recommendation. Find a designer of ornaments or something that you like and just build that collection over a year. There would be no way I could go out and buy these or afford to buy these all in one fell swoop. So I just love this tree because of the whimsy of the animals and kind of the old world candles and everything that comes along with it. I just think the work he does, you know, with the beading and the high-low effect of his ornaments is just gorgeous. We live in a 1928 Tudor revival, so it's one of the original homes to the Lakewood. And our personal style is transitional, so we do like a lot of antiques. As you saw from our original episode, you'll see it at our antiques and collectibles that we use at Christmas time. So it's a little mix of everything, a little bit of modern and a little bit of old.
Welcome to the dining room. With every collection, we try to reinvent it every year. This year, we opted for most of the primary spaces to be with flocked greenery. This is a beautiful flocked 7.5-foot tree from Porchview Home. Porchview Home, last year I came across them when we purchased the family room tree. And one thing with these collections is that they're very heavy. All these beautiful Polish glass ornaments have a weight to them. And for years, I always enjoyed using a fresh tree, but fresh trees don't typically give the rigidity that's needed for a collection of this size and have it decorated at this density. We paired it with a gorgeous Chinese urn that yet again came from the family room. We decided that the tree needed to be bigger, taller, and more extravagant. And so then it gives it a little bit of lift. It makes it not look so aggressive on the floor, but it's a really beautiful, beautiful trick to to use what you have and then also finish the tree off. Years ago, especially with all these great Christopher Radko, years ago in college, I worked for a wonderful store. And we were, in those days, Starlight dealers were a big thing for Christopher Radko. And we were a Starlight dealer in Oklahoma City. And I really started to hone in on things that I loved. And all these great Santas. This collection is a combination of both Bob and I's collection on the flocked. We have our little Mabel, our little miniature dachshund here. She's not Christopher Radko, but she's pretty special. And then we've added over the years, you know, the ribbon, the poinsettias, everything that helps tie the tree to the room. I'm not a firm believer in that your tree has to match your room, but I do believe that there should be an element that coordinates the room to the tree. Hence, we added this gorgeous cinnamon and chocolate and gold ribbon, which also communicates back through all the furnishing and all of the upholstery in this room. Favorite ornament on this tree for me would be, we've got two different ones. We've got a great strong water dove here, which I absolutely love. I love the colors. And then I love all these great, like this Patricia Breen Peacock Santa. She is just so beautiful.
Well, I'd like to walk you through the tablescape. We're getting ready for a dinner party tomorrow night. As last time, we don't decorate to this extent and get the house ready without sharing it with friends and family. So we'll be having a seated dinner in the next couple of days. And as I told you on the first episode, I like every table to be different. So I don't like my guests to be like, oh, I've seen that before. It's getting to be challenging after a couple of years. So we'll either have to keep buying or recycle and hope their memory's not so great. So this year for the holiday table, I had this skirt made. I wanted a more tailored tablecloth that extended to the floor with the inverted box pleats in the middle, whereas when people sit, it gives a little bit of give where the whole tablecloth is not creasing under. And then lots of comments from viewers last time about they loved the tablecloth that was on that table, but it's in practicality because of the raised petals. And so I heard you and had one made that's a little more practical for you. The setting of the table, again, formal. We're not casual people. So all of the silver, including the chargers, the candlesticks, and all the flatware is Wallace Grand Baroque. And then I've had these sterling silver Coptic crosses for years that are scattered along the table. They're really not holiday. I bought them in Santa Fe, so they're really more casual, just decorative. I've never used them other than holiday. I think they make a nice addition to the table or a mantelpiece. So you'll see them scattered through the table. And then the settings themselves, I like to mix the china where I can, where everything is not so matchy-matchy. So we have, the base, this charger is not Wallace, that is Gorham. And then the dinner plate is Lennox. And then the salad plate is Fitz and Floyd St. Nicholas, which I'm not sure they make that anymore. And then this table can get a little busy quickly. And so I just went with simple archival Fostoria with gold glasses, and then just a little bit of shine with the ribbon throughout the table. So we like it. And then for the flowers, I wanted something a little more Della Robbia. So mixing the roses, the hydrangeas, the fruits, and the sugared fruit. Just thought it kind of elevated the table a bit. And then just to add a little bit of extra fun, added wreaths to the back of the chairs. These could not be easier. These came from Hobby Lobby. I think they were $2.50 a piece. A velvet ribbon, also from Hobby Lobby. I think 3 rolls was $5. Couldn't be simpler. Just get you some straight pins, build your bow, and then just straight pin them into the back of the chair. They don't show, and it gives you an elevated view that's fun just for the holidays. All right, so now if you'll follow me, we'll go into the butler's pantry and then on into the kitchen. All right, so we're back in the butler's pantry, and there was a lot going on the first time you visited us in the butler's pantry. And as you can tell, if you look up at the shelves in the bar, it's gotten a little bit busier. As I said earlier, sometimes Christmas can feel like it threw up on your house, and that is not always a bad thing. So I just decided, with all this amari that we have in these shelves, that why not, you'll see throughout the house, I like putting Christmas ornaments in bowls and vessels and things. I think it's a really easy way to get some holiday without everything being holiday. And so I just ordered these on Amazon because they're really difficult colors to find. So the gold, the blue, and the orange all kind of mimic what's going on in the amari, and love kind of how that looked. And bring it down to the bar in the same colors. And then for guests, coming over, we always have a little treat for you to take on the way out. So these are the most delicious sugar cookies in the world. I wish I could tell you I made them, and I would be a big fat liar. These come from J. Ray's in Dallas, and if you have not tried her bakery, you should definitely check it out because she makes delicious things. And I'll be sending some of these home with the Homeworthy team. And then also on my marble girl, which I just love, we always just put a little sterling silver placket with a season and a ribbon, just something very simple. I see people put scarves on them, and I thought about this year, but I don't like to copy people. So now if you'll follow me into the kitchen, I'll transfer it over to Matthew, who will talk about the decorations in the kitchen.
Welcome to the kitchen. Bob walked you through the dining room and the butler's pantry, and now we're in the kitchen. The kitchen, especially since our addition a year and a half ago, has become more of the heart of the home because it connects not only the dining room to the family room, which we'll get to next. The kitchen, I think, a lot of times presents a problem for people in decorating for the holidays. Many times counters become inundated with things and stuff, and much like we were speaking of earlier, Bob and I like to edit our collections where they seem more purposeful and they seem more confined. An incredible detail, an architectural detail that's part of the house that we typically have nothing on. For the holidays, it is home to a collection of Snow Village houses that my grandparents started a collection for me when I was 8 or 9 years old. And we found that these became a beautiful little representation of our neighborhood, although there are some styles that are not in our neighborhood. This is just a small little quiet area. We have these on at night. They're not on all the time. They're a special reminder of a lot of Christmases and a lot of houses and a lot of people that live in them. So the final leg of the kitchen until we walk into the family room is a collection of antique finials that not only did my sister give, but we've picked up here and there, and we've ordered. Yet again, this is also a collection of vintage Christopher Radko and really great antique glass ones from the 50s and the 60s. And this is a great way, another great way, to have a small little spot of Christmas without it inundating this entire space. Because many times during the holidays, when we entertain, the stove gets covered. This becomes really much a dessert central, and people really do enjoy hanging out between the two rooms. But this is another great way. We use these beautiful Lismore tea light holders as anchors for these finials. That way they stand proud, and they're a nice little addition to the kitchen and a small little moment as you're just kind of walking through. Most families will say that holidays are the most important part of their lives, which it is on every family, but even as a small child, the holidays were always a very special spot. Before Bob and I met, I always worked to decorate my own home. And then as our lives and years have crossed and grown together, it's only expanded and become the treasure that it is, what you'll see today.
And then I've been collecting or decorating since I had conscious thought. My mom always included us in decorating, and she was a big believer of not tacky Christmas. And I don't mean to offend anyone, but she had very stylized Christmas, but included us in the decorating with very specific instructions. So she taught us well. And then I started collecting ornaments when I was about 9 and have continued that collection 51 years.
We watch a lot of episodes and I find a lot of different adjectives that people use. This is my favorite. This is the most extraordinary. This is very special to me. And I think all three of those words exude this tree. This tree is 40 plus years of collecting family heirlooms, antique, new, and then of course they're hanging on again a beautiful porch view home Christmas tree. This is a 9.5-foot one. Of course, many trees and many years, I like to add a second set of lights. I did to this one. We didn't add any additional lights to the other trees. We felt like they had adequate lighting, but this tree, I believed it needed a little more sparkle, a little more density of light. And as you'll see, these little faceted lights were added from tip to base. There's over 22 to 2,500 ornaments on this tree. They range in antique Polish, antique Czech, Christopher Radko, Patricia Breen. And if many of you know, Woolworths was credited as the first American retailer to bring all these great shiny bright ornaments originally to America. These were always treasures of Europe. And F.W. Woolworth decided America needed these. And I think the first set that I ever saw, my parents had a set of 12 and they were in this great box with beat up cellophane. And there were these wonderful little reflectors and they were my favorite as a kid growing up. And so as I started and as I became an adult, I would continue to add. Then the joke happened one year, unfortunately, with the pandemic. We had a joke here at the house, either at the door, whoever was ordering dinner jackets or Christmas ornaments, whichever was the volley, because I kind of went a little overboard during the pandemic buying a lot of these old vintage ornaments. You'll see a few of them like this great new one. Christopher Radko started a new company called Heartfully Yours. This is a beautiful hand painted, hand glittered, and hand crystalled ornament. I have about a dozen of those, but the primary ornaments on these are either vintage, Christopher Radko, and antique. Of course, last year I added, as we talk about, the collections stay the same, but we try to add something or try to make something to elevate or to make it different. These large crystal icicles we added last year. I thought the scale of that oversized icicle really gave it a lot of depth, paired with the little shorter one. Those are very inexpensive and easy to add to any tree. I think with a tree this size and with the density of what's on it, you just have to have a little bit of patience and have to understand that what you start, you have to finish. And so in this room, we set up a 10-foot church table in the middle of the room, and about 35 to 40 Rubbermaid tubs come out of our attic, and they all get organized on the table, and one by one, ladder here, ladder there, the tree gets finished, which takes better part of a full Saturday, a Sunday afternoon, and then I work on it this year I worked on it about a little bit of 5 evenings during the next week. And then finally I said, Uncle, that was enough. Then we topped it off with these great antique clip candles. I think they're really great. I think they add a lot of dimension and a lot of geometry where everything is not just hanging straight down. And also the whimsy of everything. This octopus Bob gave me one year for Christmas. There's just something for everybody to look at. I love this black nutcracker. My mom gifted that one year. There's a couple Santas on here that Bob's mom gifted us as well. I just think, a family tree should be filled with all these great memories and a little bit of whimsy. And it does make the whole room sparkle. The one thing that I attribute and give a big compliment to my other half, Bob, is he is a huge proponent of change and a huge proponent of let's try something different. I personally like to set a space and live with it for a little bit. And he always pushes me outside of my comfort level that we could do this or we could do that. And then we start thinking about it. These chairs, you'll notice, are different. We had an antique pair of English chairs here before. They really just were very impractical, although they were covered in that wonderful period jacquard tapestry. These are much more comfortable, and they actually allow people to sit in instead of perch on. These are a gorgeous cut velvet, ebonized mahogany from Taylor King. Taylor King is an American-based company out of North Carolina. They make an extraordinary upholstery line. I've used them several years over the years where I've worked, and they actually help balance out a lot of the scale of the room.
All right, we're on my way to the office, but as you remember, as part of this latest addition we did to the house, I had this gallery which connected the new addition of family room to my office, so I don't have to walk outside anymore. Of course, these guys live in the family room when we don't have Christmas trees up, so they're out here temporarily. Those were inherited from my grandmother last year. And then we have a nativity scene, and I am not a nativity scene fan, but I was in an estate sale and found the Holy Families, so Jesus, Mary, and Joseph, and thought, oh, that might be pretty somewhere at the holiday. So I bought that, and then, of course, discovered this is beam porcelain, which I'm not sure they make beam, but very fine porcelain, and have slowly filled in the other. I like it because it's blanc de chine, so no color, lots of great detail. And this just is a good example, I believe, of like using things for Christmas that aren't Christmas. So my mom gave me this tabernacle, oh God, 25 years ago, and I've really never had a use for it. It's big and it's an awkward size, and what would you do with it? And so when I drug this out this year, I thought, oh, perfect, that can be the creche for this beam nativity scene. I think it works great. And then another little trick is, all of this little stuff can get dark. And so just, I went on Amazon and just found there's these tiny little spotlights, literally half an inch long, mounted up in here. I think it was $6, and it just illuminates it. And so it just gives a little more importance to something. And now we'll head right into my office. Well, welcome to my office. We didn't get to see this room on the tour last time, and I feel incredibly fortunate. I work from home, and of course through COVID, everyone worked from home, but it is such a nice luxury to have a dedicated office. This is also somewhat separate from the house. Until we did the addition, it was completely separate. I walked across the yard to come to work every morning, which is fine until it's 12 or rainy or whatever it will do in Texas. So now the gallery connects the two, so I never have to leave the house to come to work. So very convenient. This, I thought, I'm a big proponent, as you heard from the first episode, of like continuous color in the house and like adding an accent color. So flow through of color. I broke rules in this one. I just decided this is work, and it's going to be a completely different color story. So it is in my mind, when I open that door, I'm coming into a new workspace. So all blue and white in here. And funny, I don't really like blue-white. I didn't, now I do, until about 3 years ago when I started working on this room. So this was originally a bedroom for guests, and then I took it over as my office. Funny story, there used to be a bed back in this area, table and chairs here, and then a sofa and a pair of chairs. And I had an employee over one day, and we were going through some spreadsheets and some proposals we were working on, and she got up, and she's a dear friend, so got up from the chair and like threw herself on the bed, spread out her laptop. And in my mind, I was like, bed goes tomorrow, and it did. So reconfigured this more as office. So now if I have a team that needs to come over to discuss a project they're working on, I can set 4, I can set 8, we can have lunch, we can work all day in here very comfortably. So really happy with how this room turned out. Art on the wall, I talked about this artist in the first episode, and you saw her work going up the stairs. Carmen Menza, this is one of her larger installation pieces, which I just love. And then the back wall here, I was at our favorite antique store, Nick Brock in Dallas. You should go visit Nick if you've never been to his shop. It's museum quality stuff that is just mind-blowingly beautiful. And he had an installation of these Italian brackets and these faience animals. Now, the pricing was well beyond Bob's means. And there was a reason for that, you know, very fine porcelain and much better brackets. But I thought, you know what, I can take that and I bet I can replicate that for not that much money. And I came home, got on eBay, and in 2 days, all of these were purchased. And in a week, they had all arrived and all went up. So, you know, you can see something and there's high, low. So, you know, even if you can't afford something in the shop, you might get an idea. So look around and take your cues from there. I'm out here a lot. Matthew can attest, you know, he'll come home, I'll be out here working, he'll cook dinner, I'll come back and work some more. So I wanted this space to have a holiday feel as well. In years past, I've always done a tree right here in front of this mirror because I sit here, laptop up, camera, you know, and catches the tree. And this year I thought, you know, let's do something different. We got these really great Chinese containers last year and really haven't found the right place for them as of yet. So, you know, why not stick a Christmas tree in them? And even better, why not stick 2 Christmas trees in them? So for balance in this room, I did 2 Christmas trees. These trees could not be easier. If you don't think you can decorate a Christmas tree, you're selling yourself short. Now I'm going to give you a tip, and Matthew didn't give you his tip in his other 2 trees. Normally when you look at a tree, it's in front of a window or there's a light source behind it and you can see through the tree. I hate that. It makes the tree look not full. You see, especially on an artificial tree, you'll see the armature sometimes. And so we stuff these, all of our trees. So if it's a green tree, it will get stuffed with more greenery. It will get stuffed with tacky glitter tinsel because when you stuff it in there, the light just catches it behind an ornament and gives you a little twinkle. So this one has, and you'll see it in another tree, this just has batting that you would use to make quilts, and it is just stuffed into this tree so you don't see through the tree to the back wall. So it makes them look very full for really no money. I think a bag of bunting is about $5. And then the rest of these, I'm going to give away my secret. I didn't have these trees out here, and so I just thought, well, I'm going to put up some trees this year. There are a couple of handmade ornaments on here. The rest of them are shatterproof, which is our new fancy way of saying plastic. So there's a lot of shatterproof on here. But, you know, you can't help yourself. There's some J. Strongwater, some old diorama ones from Germany. So, you know, again, you can build your base out of something very inexpensive and then just layer on a couple of your more special pieces. The theme of our collection stays the same every year. It's very traditional, but every year we do something slightly different, either placement of trees, what ornaments go on what trees in what rooms. But I would call this a very traditional Christmas. And many of the things stay the same. So the family tree behind us is a little bit of J. Strongwater, lots of Christopher Radko, and then vintage German, Czech, and Polish ornaments that we collect throughout the years. So this year, you know, we did change up some trees. Some trees are exclusively one designer's ornaments, where you could see it in its totality. So we tried to group the collections this year instead of spreading it through the house. Well, welcome back to the courtyard. As you'll remember last time, none of this furniture was here. I hinted that it was on its way, but it had back ordered. So we're now fully installed in the backyard. I have to say, you keep coming when the landscaping is not at its best. You came in the winter or early end of winter last time, so not much blooming. And now we're heading into winter again, so not much blooming again. But we decorate outside because during parties, this is a great spillover for people to come out, you know, make themselves at home, bring food, drink out here. So new this year to the patio, all of the patio furniture is Palachek, outdoor hospitality grade. So if you've not used Palachek before, you definitely should. This is some of the best teak and woven. You see a lot of knockoffs of this now using the woven and teak, but Palachek really are the ones who brought this forward, this look forward. And I just love the teak, the woven, and the concrete table. I like that juxtaposition so everything's not so matchy-matchy. And then on the back of each of these chairs, again, a simple trick. I just was at Hobby Lobby or Home Goods or one of those and found these Christmas ornaments that were like $1.50 a piece, little wooden snowflakes. And again, just with a simple straight pin, pinned them to the back. And then on the table is a collection of crystal. Most of them are old Auraphores from the 50s, and I think I have about 300 of those. So you're only getting a small sampling of those. All right, and out here we have 4 or 5 trees. We'll start with the small ones. Again, outdoor trees. So again, shatterproof, plastic. Ornaments are going to be your best friend. They will survive. They have survived the sprinkler system. We're in a weird weather pattern here in Dallas where it's 80, 30, rain, sun, and they're holding up pretty well. We had 30-mile-an-hour winds last week and everything withheld. Now the secret is if you're going to put trees up outside, go to Home Depot, Lowe's, whatever your local garden center is, and get one of the stakes for a small tree. Drive that stake deep into the ground, zip tie that tree to the stake. The tree will stand in 60 mile per hour wind. So all of these are well staked, so they're not moving. But again, these are just filled with plastic ornaments and okay ribbon. But if you use enough of it and kind of repeat the theme, I think they look fantastic. And then we'll kind of pan over to the big trees. We have 2 8-foot flocked trees. I was not going to put these up this year. And my aunt called me and said she had bought a new Christmas tree on Amazon and she unboxed it. It didn't have lights on it. She was returning it. They sent her 2 instead of 1. They wouldn't take them back. They said, just keep them. So she gave them to us. And I thought, well, we'll use them outside. If they survive, they survive. If they don't, they don't. And again, we just repeated this color story out here of the blue and white. So again, all of these ornaments, I hate to give my secret away. These 2 trees, the combined cost, the trees were free, they were a gift, and all of the ornaments for both trees combined was $42 because I bought all of them at Family Dollar because, you know, they're outside and I thought they looked great. So the garlands, everything, both of these trees was about $21 each tree to decorate. And I think they look fantastic. And at night they glow and give just an extra layer out here. And then the mirrors, of course, were here last time, but we always put lit wreaths on them. So at night, all the boxwoods, by the way, all the greenery out here at night is lit. So you get just a soft glow of white light and some green glowing back here. And so it makes a really nice ambiance for folks to come out, have a drink, or if it's gotten too chaotic inside, you know, with 50 or 60 people at a party, this is an easy place to spill out. And again, with the seating area here, this is all Palacheck, which matches the dining room. So fantastic quality. I mean, the chair weighs about 100 pounds. I can't move the sofa. And then accessorizing this, again, just using a trick that I think a lot of people do is just stuff balls into bowls and put some Christmas ornaments in your arrangement, especially outside. It just makes it a little more festive. And then I just have to call out this little guy here. My grandmother, who I lost last year, I talked a lot about her in our first episode. This is absolutely nothing, but it just has so much meaning to me, is I think I was 7 and she was big into pottery making at that point. And so she took me with her and both of us made a little snowman, and that's the one she made. And so I don't know what happened to mine. It was probably so bad they immediately killed it. But I love having that out there. That reminds me. And then, of course, our giant snowman holding guard over the trees came from Horchow. I think they still make him, possibly even a bigger. And then we'll be adding, we didn't quite get through with the lights. He'll also have lights strung around him. So we're really pleased with how this courtyard came out and like how this blue and white theme lends itself to a holiday party. And then the last thing that we have out here, you know, I talked about before, this Victorian iron plant stand that we had just gotten the last time you were out here. I think it was full of cactus before. So for the holidays, I thought, let's just see if we can make it look like a poinsettia Christmas tree. So that's my attempt at it. I don't think it really quite accomplished it, but it looks okay. So we're super pleased with the backyard. All right, so welcome to one of our guest bedrooms. You didn't get to see this room in the first episode, so I'm glad y'all are back to catch this one. This room is a problem for Bob. When I moved into this house, this was the primary bedroom and looked very different. I had a different aesthetic then. The problem is these are 100-year-old plaster walls, and this room particularly cracked every year. And so every year, plasters came out, scraped all the crumbling off, replastered. Next year happened again. It's the hot and cold. And so I thought, I'm through with that. And so I did something that is very out of fashion, which is upholster the walls. So this is fabric on the walls. And I wrapped the entire room in this, I think, great chinoiserie gold and tan fabric, and really wrapped everything. So the settee is in the same fabric, the cornice over the bed had custom bedding made out of it, and then just added in some matelassé and, some Schumacher silk and wool just to kind of, give it a little extra oomph. But I really like the glow of this room. I talked about how much I like gold in my first episode, so this is definitely our gold bedroom, and this is by far the most grandma room we have. And I don't mean that in a negative way. This is a lot of grandma's things. And so really all of the figures you see are the porcelain. I would say everything in this room has come from a member of Bob or Matthew's family. And so, this is I'm not sentimental about things, but I do come into this room and it does remind me of, where it came from and where she bought it and how she felt about it. So then, about 2 years ago, I guess it was in COVID when we had lots of time on our hand, we decided every room should have a Christmas tree. And so this room has a Christmas tree too. So when I was thinking about the tree for this room, obviously I like gold. There's a lot of gold in here, so why not just layer on more? So this is a gold tinsel tree. I talked about tacky Christmas earlier. I might classify a gold tacky tree as gold tinsel to be tacky. Again, what do you do with it to kind of cut down on that? I think you either go hard and go tackier, or you try to dial it back. And I think I went hard at it. I didn't give this conscious thought, but there's a lot of ornaments on here, and they're a mix. Most of these ornaments are German kugels. So they're very heavy. They're colors that don't read particularly Christmassy. So you get this salmon and this gold, and then lots of gold ornaments, and some chocolate browns, and just a handful of figural ornaments to tie it all together. But I really like how this gives the room some life. It's consciously talking to the space in the room. I don't think your Christmas trees have to match the room. This one definitely does, and I'm pretty proud of it. And then I took the extra step, and if you go down, all of my packages match my tree in this room. So I think that's, if you want to do something just a little more elevated, you can do that with your packages.
It's interesting. Inspiration comes from a lot of different directions, regardless whether it's your everyday collections, whether it's holiday. What inspires each individual is very personal. With our collections that we have, they all stem from childhood. They've grown into something a lot more extravagant, but also too, the inspiration from all these beautiful trees are a lot of memories and a lot of family connections and a lot of time gone by and a lot of beautiful memories.
Normal Christmas starts the day of Thanksgiving or the evening of Thanksgiving and normally takes about a week to go up. With Homeworthy coming, I'm going to say it took us about 3 weeks this time. We started early, like everyone in America. I think everyone in America needed Christmas this year because lights are up, trees are up way before Thanksgiving, so we didn't feel so badly. But I think we started November the 7th this year, and we finished last night on December the 2nd. So yeah, a couple of weeks.
To answer what's the best part about the decorating experience in the home is is the process. We both are very process oriented. We both like to cut off more than what we think we can, and we divide and we get it done. And when all the boxes go back to the attic and everything is clean and everything is ready for company, and you can walk around, or many nights I'll sit here in the family room long after Bob's gone to bed and just sit and look at the tree and the joy that it brings us, but also we decorate the outside of our house, and our neighbors stop us repeatedly or leave notes on the door in the mailbox about how much joy it brings the neighborhood. And that personally I think is more rewarding than any of the extravagance of it all. Welcome to our second guest bedroom. And the previous room Bob commented about, the first guest bedroom was the primary when he first moved into the house. And this room occupied our den. We had a great L-shaped sectional in here. We had the TV over in the bookcase. There was a couple lounge chairs, a great oversized coffee table. And this is where Bob and Matthew spent the weekend. This is where we spent the evenings watching TV. This is where we welcomed our little baby girl, Mabel, home. Anytime there was anything, this is where we gathered. The room had light on 3 sides, big, beautiful windows, and it always was just a great space where you could look out on the backyard, watch some TV, and have a disconnect from the main world on the front of the street. After the addition was completed, this room was then redesigned back into a bedroom as it would have been in the 20s. We decided to do this wonderful pallet jack canopy bed. This really gave a layer of casual quality to the room, and then paired it with these great reproduction French chests. This again is another opportunity where the bed can get a little pricey, but these chests are front gate. They're very reasonable. We did continue the same thing on the walls and the draperies as we did in the first guest bedroom. The walls are entirely upholstered with matching linen draperies with great hem tape and a great fixed panel with these great bamboo shades. The one thing that we enjoy about the upholstered walls is that it gives a layer of privacy and it gives a layer of peace and quiet. Although the density of the plaster helps, adding a layer of batting and adding a layer of fabric to a room, it really becomes kind of a cocoon, which is great, which is really great. The artwork over the bed is a favorite of Bob's. We found a home for it there, which is a really, really, really beautiful piece. And then behind me, we can pan over, there's 2 beautiful watercolors. These are pieces that he painted many, many years ago. His own hand. These great Majolica plates are from his grandmother's estate once she passed. And then of course, one of our beloved dachshunds at the bottom who's gone to live on, kind of rounds out this wall, which I think is a great collage and a great way to display similar colorways of art in a very, very structured way. One of my favorite things, years ago, I worked for a lighting company, and I would love to go on a haunt. These little sandstone mid-century lamps I found over at the local Salvation Army. If you are afraid of doing any of that, quit being afraid and go. These originally had bad walnut stems and these horrible onion skin shades. I think they were half of half. They were ridiculous. I think I bought the pair, told them to keep the shades, and I bought the bases. And then I took them to the workshop, had them take off the wooden stem, had them out acrylic, and then these great custom foil and silk shades were made. And in fairness, they stayed in a closet for easily 5 or 6 years because I never really had the spot for them. And then when we redesigned this space, they just found the right home, and they just are a really beautiful way. That foil shade casts the light up and down, which is, I think, very serene and very, very, very calming. As we round the room, the bookcase is original, but before it was only a 2-bay. The 3rd bay, before the addition, was an enormous window that mirrored the ones over here on the other side. And this collection on the bookcase is of these great quill boxes. They're quill and ivory. We've got a great collection of bronzes and great Buddhas. They're just, it's just a great way. And as you can see, all the different pieces have their own personality. But one of Bob's tricks that I really like is that he wraps all the book jackets in similar paper. That way, if they're not books of any notoriety, you don't really need to show the spine, and you really need to quantify how busy all of the little collection is by something that's a grounding element. And I really like that trick. And that's what we have on this whole wall Yet again, we decided we needed another tree in another bedroom, but much to Bob's credit, a tabletop tree is a great way to introduce a tree without it being so committal and so aggressive and it consuming so much of a space. And this is an enormous collection of antique Madonnas and Italian carved figurals and beautiful Zardozzi crosses. So this is all a very, very religiously themed tree, topped with that enormous J. Strongwater glass finial. Then one other thing that's very special to Bob, this Nativity, his grandmother had an enormous collection of Fontanini, and in one of her powder rooms, she had a whole wall full of brackets that covered the entire wall, and that's how she had all of her Fontanini displayed. That way she can enjoy it year round. It was not a seasonal item. It was something of her daily life, and when you went into that powder room, you saw this enormous collection, and during, when we had to pare down the estate, we walked through and we chose things that we knew that we might want to use for the holidays and in remembrance of her. And then lastly, great pair to anchor the great Palachek bed of these beautiful Palachek spa chairs in a beautiful Asian cut velvet with a linen ground. I think the cut velvet really elevates the woven quality. Many people think that woven furniture cannot be executed in a very refined way, that it's all super casual and it's only reserved for sunrooms. But I think when you do add a luxe fabric or a great trim, or you pair it with other things that are a little more dressy, it really elevates. And now we're going to walk through the house and we're going to go upstairs to the primary. I think Bob's up there with our little girl.
All right, well, welcome back to our primary bedroom. Not much has changed since you were here. Added, some sparkly pillows for holiday. Matthew likes sit-abouts, and we have great rows, and I'm being facetious. We don't fight about this. It's a joke. So over on his nightstand, you'll see he has a tree from his grandmother and a couple of German Santas, and I actually do like those. But he loves to sit about, and we joke about like how many were allowed or how many he's allowed. And this year, on top of the armoire, these used to be just scattered throughout the house, these little houses and trees. And so this year, as a courtesy to my OCD, he decided to group them together, and I'm thrilled that they really make a statement, tell the story up there. And then on my side, you'll see it's very plain. It's a bowl of balls, which is a trick I think works universally in every room. And then just a little German figure who's new. I'll talk about that artist in just a moment. So very simple because, as I talked about last time, this being our primary bedroom, my goal is for it to be very warm, very layered, very tonal, but luxurious. So you accomplish that through, a different number of textures and shine on fabrics. You get a real heavy linen that gives you a different layer, and then the trims that you use on your chairs, pillows, and drapes. New addition to the room this year is we have not had a tree in the primary bedroom before, and this year I thought we're going to do it. Number one, I knew Homeworthy was coming back, but really I had started collecting an artist who, and I consider her an artist, all she makes is ornaments. And they're all of these well, they're not German because she's American, but they're replicating, the German and Dresden, all hand-spun cotton and wool ornaments, from the 1800s. And I discovered her at Bergdorf. The name of her line is Vintage by Crystal. And you can either find her, if you're in New York at Bergdorf, I highly encourage going to see their holiday display. It's just magnificent. But she's also on Etsy. So now, every year I'm buying a handful of them. They're not inexpensive, and yet they're not unattainable. Most of them range $65 to $150 a piece. And so, and I know that's a ridiculous amount for a Christmas ornament, but what are you going to do? But I just love how she does these in the traditional way. So, if you look at the guy in the plane, all of this is hand spun wool. I just don't know how you do that. And then everything is handmade. The propellers work. It's covered with real mica, so at night, it catches the light and flints. And so all of these ornaments are Vintage by Crystal. So check her out on Etsy. Her stuff is just amazing. And then as we go up the stairs, you know, I love my little cause figures. I talked about the whimsy and joy they bring me on your first visit here. And I think Christmas should be a little bit of fun. And so this year, as I was walking up the stairs one day, I thought, my little guys need something Christmassy. So as you go up, you'll see all of them have a little wreath. Again, it's a little bit over the top for Christmas, but I think it's very quiet. Not very many people have noticed it so far, but it makes me giggle every time I go up the stairs to see them all holding their wreaths.
What home means to me, home is a place when the door is closed and it's just the 2 or 3 of you with the dog, with dinner. It's a place of refuge, it's a place of solace, it's a place of comfort, it's a place of safety. And I think many times people get lost in home having to be a certain aesthetic, a certain perspective, but it all really is what's your own perspective and what the perspective of your family is, and embracing that. We do have a little more traditional home than what a lot was on trend currently, but that's what is comfortable and that is what we find to be appealing.
And for me, I gave you my answer of what home is every day on the first episode. Home at the holiday for me is a little bit different. The house changes, it becomes even more loaded with things. And Christmas to me should be excess. I mean, if Christmas hasn't thrown up on your house, what are you doing? So we like a lot of Christmas, and to me it adds warmth, it adds light. It's an invitation for friends and family to come in and share the house even more. And so we love sharing the house with the neighborhoods and our friends, and we love doing the decorating. So it's a lot of work, but we think it pays off.
And we both operate under the guise of not everything that's fixed in the house requires something of holiday. Many times you see publications, you see other friends, you see colleagues, and the house doesn't quite have room to breathe because there's no room to breathe. And that is something that Bob and I both, even in our everyday style, is that not everything has to have a personality on it.
Hi Homeworthy, it's Courtney Pettit. Welcome back to my house. I wanted to show you how we're decorating for Christmas. Come on in.
This holiday season, get ready to unwrap the most magnificent holiday homes with Homeworthy's 25 Days of Christmas. For the month of December, we'll take you inside the most heartwarming houses, decked out for the holidays in true festive fashion. From twinkling lights and elegantly trimmed trees to sparkling ornaments and cozy holiday charm, these homes capture the warmth, wonder, and beauty that make this season so special. So join us as Homeworthy celebrates 25 days of Christmas. The magic starts now.
Raise your glass. Cheers! Merry Christmas! Happy holidays!
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
Hi, my name is Courtney Pettit, and I'm an interior designer based here in Dallas, Texas. The home that I live in, the style is actually French Normandy. It's a white brick exterior with a turret in front of it, and it sort of looks like a bit of like a Rapunzel home, maybe. Not as much French Normandy. So inside the interiors, you'll see it's really complements the exterior, which is sort of classic, timeless, and fresh. Right now, we are in Dallas, Texas, in a little enclave called Highland Park, which is within the city of Dallas, but it actually has its own public school district as well as police department. So it's sort of this like little nook of a suburb within a larger city. So welcome to the formal living room in my home, where I want to show you where we spend Christmas as a family. This is where we open presents and spend Christmas morning together with a fire that is currently on right now. So some of you may have seen my original Homeworthy tour, and you've seen this room. Not a lot has changed since you saw it previously. When we moved into the home, all we did was we painted the walls. We did a fresh coat of paint. We got some new furniture in here. We got my favorite sofa that's curved from Trading Treasures in Lake Bluff, Illinois. And it's become a formal space, but again, it's comfortable and it's where we live every day. So if we go over here, I want to show you the tree, which is my favorite tree. And it's a little bit, this year, it's a little bit of a Charlie Brown tree. It's a little bit short. It's not as full as I'd like it to be, but that's the fun with having a real evergreen tree here in Dallas. It really gives the house a nice scent and really feels like Christmas. And this is a tree that I love the most. It's my favorite tree in the house because it's where we put our ornaments that have been passed down or our ornaments that we've given to our children over time. And it's also where each year we send out a holiday card, and I like to punch holes in it and put the holiday card on the Christmas tree each year so that we have a place to look at our family photos year after year. So here you can see some of these fun ones, like this is my youngest daughter in 2015, if they would have any, school photos. This is a cheer ornament that she had one year when she was on the Outlaws team at Mustang Cheer. This is my oldest daughter. This is one of my favorites. When I worked at Goldman Sachs in New York, they had a fabulous backup childcare center, and I was able to take her there. I'd be working upstairs, and she'd be in the basement at the childcare center, and they'd send pictures during the day, or they'd come home with a little nifty little art project that they were working on, and that's Victoria when she was 9 months old, and she's almost 21 now. You can see some of our holiday cards over the years that are interspersed here. This is Victoria's, when she was on the tennis team at Highland Park High School, and that was a Christmas gift one year that they had. We got this ornament here. This is one of my favorites, the year that we moved to Texas 11 years ago, and you can see the big Texas boot. This is when Victoria, the ballet slippers when she did ballet that year in 2007. You can see some more holiday cards. This is one of my favorites, actually. This is me when I was, I think, maybe 6 years old. No, that was 1977. I was 4 years old. Now you know my age. But it's a little piece of holly with my picture in it. And then I've also put pictures of the girls when they were babies and put them in like little silver frames here around the tree as well. Just because it just gives me joy to see that and joy for them to see it as well. And then we've collected some other ornaments over the years, if some have broken here or there. And one ornament that's really special to me is one that my grandmother made. We called her Nani. And when she was sick, towards the end of her life, she was in bed a lot, but she was still very sharp. And she loved to make pin needle ornaments. And I have one on the tree here, and then a bigger one that you're going to see in the dining room in a little bit. So let me show it to you over here. So there's a couple here, actually. Here's one right here, and it would be like a styrofoam ball, and she would take ribbon and yarn, and then she would put different pins in it just to make them festive and pretty. There's one down here that she spent a lot of time on putting red yarn down on it, and then you can see the different pearl pins and jewels that she would use to make these. And they're just beautiful. I know we used to have more when I was growing up, and then my sisters and I when my parents moved out of their home, we took them and now use them on our trees, and they bring me a lot of joy because they remind me of my grandmother who lived in Milwaukee. And I just remember as a child spending a lot of time with her when she was sick and in bed, but she again was very sharp, and she would make these beautiful ornaments, and now they're here to decorate and be with my daughters, and that's makes me feel good to have her here with us. We're in a very formal room right now. But this tree, like I said, is very sort of Charlie Brownish. It's not full, it's not perfect. We got it around the corner at the local dealer. I think it's important to be authentic with your tree in your home. Even if you have a formal room, it doesn't mean you need a perfect tree, and this tree is far from perfect. The ornaments are sort of glopped together here on one side, and are not perfectly spaced, because my daughter and her friends actually came over and they were helping us decorate the tree this year. So I like the tree decorating to be more about spending time together and having fun together rather than making it perfect. And I think it can make a formal room even more comfortable and make it feel more like home. And we also like to keep some ornaments from our previous lives. So when we were in Chicago, my husband is a Chicago Cubs fan. This ornament right here is an ornament that I made in 4th grade that I've kept lots of years. Again, you probably know my age now, but This is probably 43 years old, this ornament right here. The year that I had a baby, the year I had Eliza. You can see 2012, that was an ornament that my sister gave me, just to commemorate, sort of important things that were going on in our life at the time, or that are important to us. And then you can see it interspersed with, our Christmas card pictures that we send out. The first year that my youngest went to school, she got a school bus ornament. So again, our ornaments are things that have meaning for us in a particular year, or our Christmas cards. I like this with my oldest daughter. She goes to UT, hook 'em horns. You can see the hook 'em horns ornament there as well. And one of my favorite ornaments is right up here. When we got a dog, it was my first dog ever in life, and maybe you'll see later in the video, we have a Dachshund, and here's the Dachshund, one of our special ornaments when he became part of our life as well. So each of these ornaments you can see, when Eliza was born, this was one that was made for her, Elizabeth Grayson, 2012. Important events that happen in our lives, or things that are a big deal that year for us, we'll typically get an ornament for, and intersperse it with family pictures that are on the tree. So we do have some presents under the tree as I get them now. I don't have children anymore who need to wait until December 25th. So now I can put some presents under the tree, and there's no rhyme or reason behind the wrapping. I don't use one wrapping for everyone. I don't use one wrapping for a specific child. I just sort of use the wrapping paper that's there when I get something and wrap it at the time. So you can see some of the gifts are down here. I like to use colorful wrapping, or if I see wrapping that's of a dog, of a Dachshund, then I will get that. So you can see right here some of the paper, because he looks like our dog Louie. I also love wrapping paper from the Enchanted Home, and there's topiaries and blue and white vases. But the best wrapping is when the store actually does it for free. I love those stores. And you can see I was in Florida and went to Hive and got my husband some stuff, and not typically paper that I would choose with the gray wrap, but they do it for free. So I'm all for it. So on the fireplace over here, I want to show you the fire is on. And when we moved to this house, when we did this room, I did get some new stockings, because the ones I had were red before and sort of short, and they needed to go. And so I had these ones made that sort of went with a little bit of the decor of the room and had our names put on them. And this year we've got some garland up. I had some of these chocolate bows made that go right here on the end of the mantle. And these silver pine cone trees were from my mother. I took them from the house there. And you can see everyone has a stocking. So Charlie, Courtney, Victoria, Eliza, and when we got Louie, he couldn't be left out. So Louie also gets a stocking as well, and he'll get some treats in there from Santa Claus when he comes down the chimney on Christmas morning. So now I'd like to show you the sunroom, where you can see a more put together tree. So now we're in the formal sunroom, and this room is very pink and green. So it's an homage to the town that I grew up in. And you can see for Christmas, again, I thought fake trees when I was growing up just belonged in department stores, but when I moved to Dallas, I saw that everyone had them. And this room, I thought, deserved its own Christmas tree. So I went and purchased, this is the first one, a fake Christmas tree, and got these pink and green ornaments and these sort of pink fillers to fill it in, and thought, wouldn't it be fun to have a really whimsical pink and green Christmas tree to go in this very whimsical pink and green room. When we moved into the house and renovated, this room actually originally was a patio, a brick patio. So if you look on the floor, you can see that it is still brick, and we painted over it white. And we turned this room into what was previously like a bar area right here where the Christmas tree was, and it was really used as a family room by the previous family. We wanted to make it more of a sunroom, so we took the bar out, we put some new windows in, we put trellis all over around the room, and did a lot of millwork and molding in here, and used and repurposed a lot of furniture that was at my mom's house, or my parents' house growing up. So the sofa that you'll see here in a little bit, I recovered it in a Schumacher to make it a little bit fresh, and again, whimsical, kind of an old-fashioned 1970s print, and took some French chairs, painted them white, and also put the Schumacher fabric on it. You'll see in a little bit, I have a game table, and that I had made. I do like to, if I can't find something I like to have something custom made. And so I had the table made in a Greek key pattern to pay homage to my culture. My mother is Greek, and you'll see that sort of throughout the house. So the tree, there's not much to it, I have to tell you. I went to a wholesaler and got a bunch of pink and green filler. I bought this white flock tree. Again, this is something I thought that was only in department stores, and apparently now they're in homes, my home, and just got a bunch of pink and green ornaments and stuffed them in. I got various sizes, large, medium, small, to give it some dimension and some depth. The one thing that I did want to have some more oversight on was the skirt for the tree. I went and got some green buffalo check fabric, some fun pink trim, and had a seamstress make this for me and put it around because I thought it really needed, this tree needed a strong base, and I thought, I don't know, it kind of went well together and went with the pink and green theme of the room. So here's the game table in the room, and you can see right now there is a Santa Claus that was actually, or is actually, a punch bowl that I've repurposed and used to put a mini evergreen tree in from Trader Joe's. He's a great tree. I have a bunch of them around the house. I think they're like $14, and they're a fun way to spruce the house up and make it really festive for Christmas without spending a ton of money. And I just put a little pink bow in there to match with the rest of the room. This is the table I was talking about that I had made. I had the green made to sort of match the green that was in the sofa fabric. I got these chairs. I thought they were really fun off of Facebook Marketplace here in Dallas, and then had them recovered with a green seersucker silk brunchwig chair cover. On the other side of the room from my game table, this is where I work and where I have my desk. This is actually my father's desk. It's an old pine desk, and this is where he would work from home, and he had it in there in our sunroom in our house growing up, so it's found a place in my home in the sunroom today, which I love reusing. And on here, again, you just can see another shot of the lattice that we have in the room, and then I've just got some samples here for a project that I'm working on actually in Chicago. I've got some rug samples and some trim samples that I'm looking at. And again, I like to be inspired by nature, and here you're going to see a lot of animals. I like frogs a lot. I have a ladybug on the table here as well. You can see a lot of elephants in the room as well that I use as side tables. I love whimsical ceramics, and I love incorporating them into the rooms. I think they're fun. I think they make for good conversation, and they just make me happy. My style is probably more traditional, a little bit more classic. I like to use color. I like things to be happy. I like things to flow from room to room, so you don't walk into a room and think, oh my gosh, where does this fit into the rest of the house? I really like it to flow. I tend to lean on the side of more formal. However, it has to be comfortable. Every chair has to be able to be sat on. The tables have to be able to have feet on them because that's when family is comfortable, and that's where they like to relax. Okay, now I'll show you to the dining room. So welcome to the dining room. I'm going to show you how we host for a holiday party that we're about to have, and I'll show you some little tricks that I have in the room. But what I want to start with first is a centerpiece. As I talked about in the formal living room, my grandmother had put together these pincushion ornaments, and there was one that she made that was bigger and that I had in my house growing up. At the Christmas time, we'd always put it in the front hallway and hang it from the chandelier. But at my house, I don't have a chandelier in the hallway to hang it from because it's a lantern. So what I do is typically we'll put it on the center table in the dining room so that everyone can enjoy it, and we can enjoy it for the month of December and really take a look at it. So over here, it's sort of a big gold one, and I loved this growing up because it just was so sparkly to me. And you can see it's really just, it's faded quite a bit over the years. This is probably almost 50 years old. But it's a really beautiful one where she had taken, this gold styrofoam ball, painted it, and put all of the pearl and, sort of fake little crystal pin cushions in here and really made something so pretty. She had such an intricate eye and such attention for detail. I wish it was better intact. It does need some TLC, but it does get this one place, and it doesn't get moved a lot in the holidays because it is so fragile and very precious to me because my grandmother made it. So the table's a little bit whimsical. We are going to have some friends over for dinner, and on this one, what I've done is taken some clementines, which I love, and we'll use that to pour champagne in them, and people will typically eat them. So it's a fun little treat that I like to do around Christmas time, and then I just scatter the rest of the clementines and use it as the base of the centerpiece. And obviously we'll reuse those because we'll eat them. What I think is really important to do when entertaining, whether it's during the holidays or not during the holidays, is to get as much done in advance that you possibly can so that the night of you're relaxed and you are enjoying your guests as much as possible. So that means getting everything out, doing a meal that is easy for you, and what is easy for people is very different. I can only do really like one course. I can do a lasagna, I have my husband help with a salad, and then typically I just need, for dessert, I can only handle as much as like ice cream and a hot fudge sundae. That is not my forte. I enjoy the setting the table and I enjoy the cleaning up as well. So we'll get as much done as we can. I want to show you a little bit of detail of the table. On the table, the tablecloth, this beautiful linen one is from Marigold Living. She makes beautiful, beautiful pieces, and this one is a little bit more formal, which I like to use around Christmas time with the ivy and the vertical line that you can see going along the table. I then have these a little bit Christmassy Fenwick and Fields placemats, and you can see that they have little oranges on them, or clementines, I'm not sure which, but they go with the theme of having the clementines at the center of the table. I have heron dinner plates. These are Rothschild bird. I actually got them at an estate sale here in Dallas. And the silver is something I registered for when I got married and was lucky enough to collect them. And then these little whimsical, I like having fun napkin ring holders. They're these silver plate ones. These are old now. They don't make them anymore. They're old Reed and Barton, but there's one here that's a sort of fun frog that's hanging to his side, and got a peacock you'll see over here, and you'll see a bear trying to get some honey. But I love using whimsical napkin ring holders because I think they're a fun conversation piece when people are sitting at the table, untying them and then sitting down. It makes them feel welcome at the table. On the napkins, I actually had these made. I did Kappa tablescapes earlier this year, and so set a formal table, and I had these napkins made and designed to actually match the plate. So you can see there's a bird here with on a branch that's matching the motif that you can see in the dinner plate. The rest of the table, very relaxed. You can see some of the silver pieces I'll use, again, more formal because it's Christmas time. Very simple flowers. Doesn't need a lot right now because it's a more formal table. I've just got some tulips in a vase right here and a mini, old champagne bucket from France. And then just use some carnations. I think they're the most underrated flower because they're really cost effective, and you can just sort of smush them out and get a lot of surface area space from them, and they add just the right amount of pink to the table. For the wine glasses, I have these are etched glass. Those are vintage. And then I have these little compotes. So little champagne glasses where champagne will go, and again, where the clementines are. So really like the table to be fun, festive. This one is a little bit more formal, but it's the holidays, so we do go a little bit more formal at the holidays. And the point is just to make it fun and, again, get as much done as advance as you can when you are entertaining at the table. Let me talk a little bit about the chandelier. It has traveled to many different states. When I moved to Chicago, my mother had gotten me the chandelier. I finally had like a larger space. I wasn't living in a New York City small apartment anymore, and had a formal dining room when I moved to Chicago. And she said, you need a proper chandelier. And so she purchased this chandelier for me, and it made 2 moves in Chicago with me. Then it made the move down to Dallas, and this is the 3rd home in Dallas that we've lived in. So in a period of about 12 years, the chandelier has seen about 6 dining rooms, and hopefully it's the last dining room that it will be in. So the chandelier, it's antique, it's vintage, it's meaningful to me because my mother bought it for me, and it's something that she wanted. It was, I think, her way of saying, I want you to have an elevated dining room, I want you to have a formal dining room, and make sure you use it. So right now we're at the banquette, and on here, what I have is a formal silver tea set. I love the way this looks year round, even at Christmas. Maybe I'll put some greenery and some in a little bit, but there is a teapot, there's a coffee pot, creamer, sugar, and we will use this if people do want coffee. We'll usually get the vat from Starbucks and pour it in to make it easier, but it looks a little bit better. I just love the way silver looks against the table. I have a Santa on here. I actually got him fairly recently. He's a new acquisition. Whenever I get my Christmas gear, I always go after Christmas to buy for the following year if I want to add anything, because that's when you can get it 50 to 75% off. Don't tell anyone my secret, but I don't believe in paying retail price for Christmas goodies, so buy after the holidays for the following year. I just love this one. He was white, he's happy, and I wanted him in here this year. You can see there's another Santa Claus to the right of the banquette right here. He's a different look, but he's happy. And I love these Santas that are, come bearing gifts and just look like they're happy and they're fun and festive at the table. I have some antique fruits here that I got at auction. I like to mix in birds and fruit with silver and just make it fun. So the mirror above the banquette was actually gifted to me by the children of the previous owners. So we were fortunate enough to buy this home about 6 years ago, and there were 5 children that grew up in the house at the time. They were the second owners of this house and lived here for almost 65 years. And one of the daughters, one of the 5 daughters, or 5 children, had gotten this mirror from her grandmother, who actually lived around the corner. And she said, we don't have a place for it in our home. We would love for you to keep the mirror and hang it in the house in Dallas, I should say, hang the mirror in the dining room. And so I really felt like I was the steward of that mirror and wanted to put it up in the dining room as thanks to the previous family who were stewards of this home and took such exceptional care of the home for when we bought it 6 years ago. I've really been decorating probably since I've had children. So my oldest is now almost 21 years old. So I really started when I was 21, and it started from when I lived in New York City with her and getting a very small little tree on the street corner, to when I moved to Chicago and had a little bit more space and more ornaments to put on the tree. And it's really something I've built over time, the collection that I have, which is ornaments and Santas and different decorations that you'll see in a little bit around the house. I guess when I've gone into each house, it's become a little bit different. Like, which room do I want to decorate? Where do I want to place something? In the house that we've been in now, that we've been in for almost 6 years now, you'll see that it started with just one tree, but then as I came to Dallas and saw like there were all these beautiful fake trees around, I was like, gosh, they're beautiful ornaments. I have more rooms, why don't I get a couple of fake trees and use these colorful Jim Marvin ornaments? So you'll see in this house now, my style for decorating for Christmas has really evolved over time based on the space that I'm in and the city that I'm in, but it's always grounded in using family treasures that have been passed down. So now I'll take you to the entryway and show you some updates that we made to the house since the last tour. So welcome to the entryway, and I want to show you some updates that we made to this space since the last time you guys were here. So I'm going to start with the table. I got a new tablecloth. Doesn't mean a lot, but I love blue and white and wanted to make it a little bit more festive when you walk into the room. And you can see that the holiday's in full spirit in here. I've got various Santas lined up on this round table to sort of greet people as they're walking in the door. I also use this old silver plate bowl to hold our holiday cards. It's a little early in the season, so we're a bit dry on them, but you can see this is where they are going to be housed, that as people are walking in or the kids are coming in, they love to see what holiday cards came in the mail that day, and they love to take a look at all of them. As you come through here, one of the things that we really wanted to do with the entryway was make it a bit more welcoming. When you came in previously, there were flat lines, there wasn't any molding, so we engaged the help of Wilson Fuqua, who's an architect here in Dallas, Texas. He's really a specialist in helping to preserve historical homes. So we had him come in, do some drawings for us, and then we executed them and wanted to get some pizzazz into the entryway. Originally, this home was built in 1934 as a spec house. And so you can tell sometimes with spec homes when they sell it or it's sold that the builder can sometimes lose some gasoline, so to speak, when it comes to really being particular about the fine details. And that's what had happened in the entryway. And so what we did is spend a lot of time, you'll see in a little bit, we punched through the turret to make the second floor feel a little bit more spacious. So we got some more ceiling height, and in the entryway we put a lot of plaster molding in. So let me show you. So before I go into the modifications that we made into the entryway, I want to pay homage to what was original. And so the stairs we kept intact. We have the original iron molding, and then you can see the detail underneath the stairs that we also kept. It was a really awkward space right here in the staircase, and so what I did is had my upholsterer just make a backboard with some fabric and left it as a bench to sit on. And because it's Christmas and the holiday season, again, I had these bows made that were fun to tie in the blue from the table, and they've got some birds on them. You can tell, again, I like whimsical things. I like things with animals. And we've got garland going all the way up the staircase with the blue bows. So that's what's sort of original to the house and what was here, and what we've updated is everything that you can see with the crown molding. We also took, which was a very sort of square and short entryway into this other space, we punched it open and made an archway and then put all of the plaster in just to really make it a more inviting space. Give it more of a wow factor, whereas before it was just painted and we had some mirrors in it and it wasn't very exciting. So we wanted it to feel more open, more bright, bring more light in, and hopefully we've accomplished that. The other thing that we've done, I'm going to show you as we go up the stairs, because the entryway really leads up to the second floor. Now we're on the second floor, and I can show you some of the modifications that we made up here. Previously, if you saw on the home tour, it was a flat sort of 8-foot ceiling that was up here on the second floor, and you really couldn't put anything up here because it's a very tight space. If you look at the outside of the house, we do have a turret, and so what we did with Wilson is we punched open the turret and used some very specific molding that we studied. We looked at Dilbeck, we looked at lots of different moldings, and decided that we wanted to do something leafy that was reminiscent of Dilbeck, who also worked on the house. So again, we wanted to pay homage to the house and the original architects of the home. We put in a lot of the plasters here, you can see, with the window frame molding, and got 3 Gracie panels that we framed out to really give it some more, whimsical. You can see here birds, flowers, make it a happy space, one that felt a little bit more welcoming. And then you can see we got a French light fixture to, again, pay homage to really to the architecture of the home, which is French Normandy. So do I follow a specific theme, or does it change year to year? I really don't have a theme. I sort of put stuff where I think it belongs. The one exception to that would be the 2 fake trees that I purchased when I moved to Dallas. And when I grew up, fake trees were something you really saw in department stores. You didn't have them in the home. But in Dallas, where it's a little bit warmer, and it's harder for real evergreen trees to thrive, fake trees are really more commonplace. And I got into the Dallas movement, when in Rome, and purchased 2 trees. And one really goes thematically with the color of the room. So I have the trees really to blend in with the color theme within that room. So you'll see those in a little bit. Oh, now we're gonna go into my daughter's room, where you can see how she decorates for the holidays. So now we're in my daughter's room, and she just turned 12, and I want to show you how she decorated her room for the holidays. She got really into the spirit this year and took one of her most prized pieces of furniture, which is her new little makeup station. We, much to my chagrin, got her one for her birthday and got it off of Amazon actually, I think for like $100, but it's her most prized possession and the place that she seems to spend the most of her time. So if you go over here, you can see this lovely piece of furniture. It's her makeup station where she keeps her makeup, all that type of stuff, her potions, her perfumes, things that she likes to collect, what 12-year-old girls love to do. She spends a lot of time here, and she put little pink bows all over the bulbs. I tried to dress the piece up a little bit as much as I could. My husband and I were traveling, and I got her this stool, and we recovered it in this green fabric so I could make it a little bit more elevated than the plastic little seat that was there previously. She has a Christmas tree up next to her bed. She has taken our elf on the shelf, who no longer comes and does surprise visits anymore, but just sort of stays here. His name's Rumpelstiltskin, and put him up on her lamp, as you can see over there. And she has a pink tree that she actually decorates every year, and normally there are just bows on it, but this year she took her favorite ornaments from the tree downstairs and put them up here on her tree, probably because they obviously bring her joy, and it's something that she wanted to look at every day. So we'll take a look at her tree. So some of her favorite ornaments that she took is baby's first Christmas. So this is one of the ornaments that she received when she was obviously born. You can see it says Eliza in 2012. She's a Starbucks fanatic. I don't know if any other tweens out there are, like my daughter is. I try and cut it back, but she put there's a Starbucks ornament. She likes ice cream, she likes macarons, and her favorite ornament is, there's another Dachshund. You can see there's Dachshunds everywhere. We have like what is akin to our little Louie in the tree here as well. Eliza likes to go to the beach. She likes to collect seashells, so that's a seashell she has, and then another pink drink over there. So some of the things that bring her joy that she likes to wake up and look at every morning are right here in her room. So one of the enhancements that we've made to the house since moving in is remodeling this bathroom. So it's a tween bathroom, and what was in here before was a square old dingy tub that really needed to go. So we took out that square tub that was original to the house and put in a proper shower, which I think every tween girl needs a proper shower. We put some penny tile on the floor, put some white, bright, whimsical wallpaper, wall covering up from Schumacher, and did this sort of white feathery mirror to give my daughter some more space to put some of her beauty potions on. So this has been a fun project that we did last summer to enhance the space, because I'm finding she spends a lot more time in the bathroom now than she ever did before. My inspiration for decorating for Christmas comes from what I was used to growing up. So what did my grandmother do? What did my mother do? What do my sisters do? What do I see in their homes? I also like to take inspiration from things that I see on Instagram or in magazines. People do such a beautiful job today putting things together in such unique, elegant ways. I think there's a little pieces to take really from anywhere, from your past, from the present, and to really make it, put it all together and make it comfortable and make it home. So now we're in the green room. We're going to show you how we decorate for holiday in here. This is a place where we really hang out, where we watch TV, where we sit and chat, where we go on the laptop, do work, sit on our computers. It's a comfortable, it's a really homey place, it's a cozy place. And one of my favorite rooms in the house. So you can see here we have the mantle decorated. I remember earlier I had said that real trees and sort of themes for me were really just found in department stores. Well, I did bring that to the green room as well, and you can see I've got some of the lavender and green and chocolate brown, which are the colors that are reminiscent in this room. I brought them into the Christmas decor as well. And so I had bows made that were put on the lamps right here. And the same sort of ribbon is going through the garland that's around the fireplace. The fireplace is original. We didn't change that when we moved into the house. I love the blue and white Delft tile. I just added some andirons there, and you can see it's flanked by some copper pots. And my favorite way to decorate around the house is to use the Trader Joe evergreen trees for $12.99. and put them in copper pots or whatever vessels really make sense, and they really make a room festive, and it's an inexpensive way to bring some holiday cheer to really any room. So the fire is something I love to have on as much as we can, as much as weather allows in Dallas, as long as it's not too hot. But if it gets below 50 degrees, we will absolutely have the fireplace on. Now we'll go see the tree. So this is a second faux Christmas tree that I purchased for the home, and the final one. I will not purchase anymore. But again, I wanted to keep the theme of this tree with the colors in the room. And with this one, it's not flocked, it's just a green tree. And bought a lot of these Jim Marvin ornaments that really look like, I don't know, they look like bubble gum to me. They're just really fun looking and really shine nicely through the light. But got purple, greens, chartreuse, and different shades of brown. And you can see that the ribbon that was on the fireplace is woven in throughout the tree. We use sort of goldy little branches to fill in and stuff the tree where there was some empty space to make it really like a fluffy, full, proper Christmas tree. Again, something that you see in the department store that I brought into the house. So while the first tree that you saw, the original one, is sort of that imperfect Charlie Brown homemade tree that has gaps in it and was really lopsided. Even last night I had to prop it up so it didn't fall over. This is the more perfected tree. That in Dallas you actually do see a lot of, because the weather here is so warm and temperate or mild during the holiday season. It just makes a lot of sense to have a faux tree. Growing up in Chicago, that's not something that I was not able to part with, not having a live tree in the house. So thought I'd marry the best of both worlds and have the one original tree and then put the two faux trees up in the two rooms and match the colorway to those specific rooms. So this has become a favorite tree. No gifts under it. It's strictly just decor for the holidays. So as I mentioned, we are in the green room, and it's a color that makes me feel cozy. It brings the outside in because you can see some of the greenery when you look outside. I like green, I like blue. Color makes me happy, and whatever colors I think make you happy, you bring into your home as well in different ways that really uplift your spirits. So what is my favorite part about the Christmas decorating process? I don't know that there is one because it's a big job. It's taking things down from the attic and pulling it out and making sure that nothing's broken year over year. It's actually quite an undertaking, but through it, what I do like doing is over Thanksgiving with my two daughters and with my husband, so as a family, we will put it all together. And it's that time spent together and looking at old ornaments together that's fun. So there's typically a story with each one and we'll get a laugh out of it. Or we'll see the elf on the shelf come out and say, remember when. So although it can be a real pain in the neck to take it all out and to put everything up, it's the family memories that are made while we're putting it up. So that's it for the green room. Now we are going to go into the solarium where you can see where I'm planting a couple of things for Christmas. So now we're in the solarium, which is a room that previously didn't exist. The previous owners put it in really as a planting area, and the side part was a greenhouse, which when we moved in, we enclosed it because I'm not much of a green thumb. And we really wanted this place, which was really a connector from the garage to the main part of the house, to be a room that could be used for entertaining, for eating, for dining, for planting, whatever we wanted it for. And so what we've done is put in a marble floor, which I love. I love black and white. It reminds me of, I don't know, houses growing up, and it's something that I enjoy. You put a black and white marble floor in and painted the whole room white, and incorporated a lot of blue and white elements in here. I got a lot of blue and white vases and vessels from my mom. And so you'll see a lot of them in the planting area that's over here, and I'm going to show you what I'm planning for Christmas. So the space we're in right now was a former greenhouse, which we enclosed because I really don't have much of a green thumb. We kept the original shelving that was in here, and there was a sink that was previously there that we remodeled and just put in a new sink that we use for planting or whatever we're doing around the house. And you can see it's sort of a storage area for me. It's a place where I'll put different vessels, I'll keep different plants. So we're in the greenhouse, and this has become a space where I'm able to use storage to put all the pots that I have. And I'll also plant some things for Christmas as well. I like to plant with the girls so they can get their hands dirty, and they can plant some paper whites or amaryllis bulbs, which you'll see sit in the sun and cook in here before they're ready for prime time for the living room or for the green room or other areas of the house. So this, again, originally was the greenhouse. It was dilapidated, it was falling apart, so we enclosed it with windows, but kept the original white shelving that was in here. I liked it, I liked the authenticity of it, and I just thought it was a great shelving unit to house all of these vessels that I have. I'll use them sporadically throughout the house, depending on what I'm doing. I'll swap them in and swap them out. Some people will tell me, it looks like a store, put it away. It does, but it's the stuff that I have, and it's a nice storage for it, and it brings me joy to look at because it reminds me of my mother. And I do have some new ones interspersed with some antique ones. I really just grab whatever I need to grab, given whatever I'm using it for the time. So as you saw in the sunroom, one of the things I like to do is have a dog bed in the various rooms for our dog. And just like in the sunroom, I've got some blue and white fabric made into a dog pillow for Louie in a white wicker basket. This is a space that we love being in. It's very bright in here. My husband will work a lot in here. I'll do a lot of work in here. We'll eat dinner in here. We also entertain in here. It's just a fun space that goes into the outdoors and makes us really happy. So this is a space that brings us a lot of joy. My husband will sometimes work in here. It's an office for him. I will sometimes work in here. It was a school for my youngest daughter during COVID. There were 6 girls that would come here, and we would teach them every day. So this space has gotten a lot of use and has a lot of different purposes. It goes right into the outdoors. It goes to the pool, to the outside. And is a space that brings us a lot of joy for originally starting really as a connector from the main house to the garage. So what does home mean to me? Pretty simple. I think home means family to me. And now that I have a daughter who's not at home all the time, she's at university, home really becomes a place where family is, where they come to visit on holidays or where we come together and have friends over. It's a place to feel comfortable, it's a place to feel safe, it's a place to sort of seek refuge from the outside world when you need it, and it's a place where you can be yourself.
Hi Homeworthy, I'm Mary. Welcome to my home in Houston, Texas. Come in, let me show you around.
This holiday season, get ready to unwrap the most magnificent holiday homes with Homeworthy's 25 Days of Christmas. For the month of December, we'll take you inside the most heartwarming houses, decked out for the holidays in true festive fashion. From twinkling lights and elegantly trimmed trees to sparkling ornaments and cozy holiday charm, these homes capture the warmth, wonder, and beauty that make this season so special. So join us as Homeworthy celebrates 25 days of Christmas. The magic starts now.
Raise your glass. Cheers! Merry Christmas! Happy holidays!
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
Hi, my name is Mary Patton and I'm an interior designer. We're in Houston, Texas at my home, located in Old Braeswood. It's a mid-century modern house that was designed by Paul Laszlo in 1956. It's a really cool small piece of history on a large lot. So I have loved design since I was 3 years old and thought probably from that age that I was going to grow up to be a fashion designer, and I was really working towards that goal. So I studied art in college, and then after college I went to fashion school in New York, worked in fashion. I had a handbag line for a while. So after I had my daughter, I did a shift and started doing small interior projects for friends. I started out making pillows. 10 years later, it's evolved into what it is now. So, I took the art and fashion background as a foundation, and then I've learned and grown from that. So I found a way to kind of really have a creative career that I really, really love and enjoy. So I'm doing what I knew I would do as a little kid. It's just kind of in a slightly different flavor now. Welcome to my entryway. This is the first space that you see when you enter through the front door. This was originally the entrance to the kitchen, and when I renovated the house, I made the design choice to close this wall off and do a fun punchy wallpaper accent wall. This is our first of 4 trees, and the theme for this tree this year is animals. And then I put together all of my animal ornaments, so it's like a little wild zoo. Pulled from the ornaments, kind of the consistent color through a lot of them is black, so I thought that it would be cool to do black ribbons to kind of pull that out and make it pop, and then added in some green and pink and a black and white stripe to kind of tie it all together. Okay, then if you follow me this way, this is kind of our landing spot in the entryway normally, and I have this Buddha that I've had forever, and he changes with the season with different accessories. So he's now in a little holiday winter wonderland. And then I tied in the same color ribbon theme that I did from the tree. My personal style it's kind of a range. I would say that it's very feminine and also mixing in things that are unique. I love vintage one-of-a-kind pieces. I love fabric, I love color. I do think that it's very important to anchor a space with at least one antique or vintage piece. Now let me show you the living room. Follow me. Welcome to the living room. First, I want to just explain how I created the living room. So this area was a wall with a small swinging door to access the kitchen from this space. And so during the construction, I decided to take that wall down. This was really the only major layout change I did with the house, to kind of open up this area so it's sort of one big room, and then broke this living space up into 2 seating areas and a dining room. So this is kind of living space number 1, where our main family tree is this year. Something that's also really cool about this house is that the ceiling heights are different, and that in this area the ceiling is really tall, so I'm able to get a really tall tree in. I decided to use our kind of traditional family ornaments on this tree this year, and then pulled a royal blue color that was kind of consistent throughout the ornaments and made a lot of bows to go with that. I made an attempt this year to sort of declutter and go slightly more minimal. So I have a few of my most treasured accessories on the piano. I've got this little music box, Angels, that I've had for forever, that I got at a vintage store 15 years ago. These 2 Santas that I've had, I couldn't tell you even where I got them, they're so old. I got this nativity scene last year in Santa Fe, and the artist is the grandson of a very kind of famous sculptor that came up with sort of this look a long time ago, and I love it. Then, so on the tree, I've got a large collection of Christopher Radko Santas that I've been collecting for a long time. In 2019, I think they went on sale, and so my mother bought me a lot of ornaments that say 2019, which is also interesting because that was the year before the COVID pandemic and everyone's life changed. So it's a nod to the before time. Last year, I had a completely pink tree, so we have a few trickle effect ornaments from that sprinkled in, but I did decide to store a lot of those this year. Okay, so the furniture in this area is a mix of old and new. The velvet sofas from Roche-Beaubois, and these French club chairs, they're mid-century modern, or they're 1950s French club chairs. This sofa I did order when we were renovating the house to go exactly in this space. I decided to pull the tan color from the club chairs and the piping to kind of tie everything together. The coffee table is acrylic and glass. It's vintage, and the rug is from India, and it's newish. Also, a thing with Christmas decor is that I move my furniture around to accommodate the trees. So my plants over there normally go on that wall. The poofs that I have under the piano are Cisco, and I've had them a long time, but they're really great when you have parties because people can kind of lounge and they're easy to move around. In the second living space, this sofa is also from Roche-Beaubois that I purchased for this project, for this renovation. It's probably the nicest piece I own, and my 110-pound Bernedoodle has made it her dog bed. So I can say that investing in a really nice sofa does hold up if your dog decides that that's where it's going to hang out all day, every day. These chairs I've had forever, and when we moved and I did this renovation, I recovered them in this Schumacher velvet fabric to kind of tie in throughout the whole house, kind of a pink and green color scheme. Pink and green are my favorite colors, and for this project, I really leaned into that. I pulled a huge inspiration for me was the blush terrazzo tile, so that kind of blush theme is running throughout the house. I do also think that blush is a really nice neutral and that you can mix it with anything. And so, you know, I think red is not something you would typically think to add to a pink and green color scheme, but at Christmas time, it's a really, you know, fun way to bring in that traditional color. And I think it works. The third space, or the third area I've broken this large space up into, is the dining room. So I had this Murano chandelier made when I went during the renovation process, and really have used it as an anchor space for the dining room. So kind of defines where we are, and then have mixed in some really feminine French stuff with a modern industrial table with, you know, this entire space is kind of a weird eclectic mix of things, but I love so much each individual piece. And I really do believe that if selections really resonate with you, that they will work together. It just somehow, through the magic of creativity, that somehow this all makes sense and works. Yeah, so I picked the red candlesticks just because red is sort of the most obvious choice for Christmas decor, but again, not really used a lot in my house. But like with the royal blue that you can see a lot in the ornaments, the Santas have a lot of red. So I thought that would be just like a fun little nod. And I do love these candles. You can get them on Amazon. Just Google red beeswax, and they don't smell, they don't smoke, they don't drip. They're great. And I also feel very strongly about candlelight when you're eating dinner. So I got these chairs at a vintage store in Palm Beach. They were in my last house, my dining room, and when we moved to this one, I recovered it in this fun blush and tan stripe. The fabric's from a vendor in England. I think it's so cool. The side chairs are from Design Within Reach. So I really like to mix new with vintage. I think you can figure out a way for it to all make sense. The wood is the same tone, which also ties it together, but I just really responded to those chairs and thought that they would work, and I think that they do. So this buffet I got from a friend of mine who's a French antique dealer, and I was shopping for another client for something, and she had it, and I just absolutely fell in love with it. Not something I think that you would immediately think to put in a mid-century modern house, but I also, you know, since I've lived here for 3 years now, I'm just kind of not trying to force having everything be super modern and just filling the house with stuff that I really like. We don't have a ton of storage in this house too, and it's been a great, like all my daughter's art supplies are in here, so it has double duty. These lamps I got from a vendor in Round Top a few years ago, and I love them so much. They are stone, and the light bulb, you access the light bulb under, because when I first saw them, I was like, how do you change the light bulb on this? But it's the inside of the lamp is hollow, which is how it's illuminated. The piece of art over this buffet, my husband and I found on a trip in San Miguel in Mexico at just a small art gallery, and we carried it back to Texas. I got these Christmas swans at Dallas Market. If you have not been there, there's a huge, incredible Christmas warehouse, which is slightly overwhelming. I went a few years ago, and these made it back into the rotation this year. I think they're really cute. This piece of art my husband got in Scotland on a business trip, and I found this rattan bar cart at a flea market, I don't know, probably 10 years ago, and it's moved to a lot of different places. Right now it's a place to put plants on, but it's easily movable during a dinner party or if, you know, we need the space. The This piece of art on this wall is by Hunt Slonim. My friend Laura Rathy owns several galleries in Houston, and she represents him. So I got this from her a few years ago. The bust on this wall belonged to my husband's grandfather, as did this piece of art from Japan. He spent a lot of time there. So this is just like a cool family piece from his side of the family. I'm not sure who it is, but he also, like the Buddha in the entryway, has different accessories different times of the year. Okay, so I love the holidays and tend to go a little bit overboard. We started out when my husband and I got married with one big tree, and then over the years it's evolved into multiple rooms. I have a tree in my entryway that's animal themed this year, one in our living room, one in our TV room, and then I do a tree for my 11-year-old daughter each year. I come up with a different theme and color scheme to kind of mix up what I already have invested in, and then I add to it each year. This year we went really crazy with lots of ribbon, which you'll see shortly. Yes, we have a lot of different collections that we mix and match and change where they go, and it's just fun to kind of be creative and be inventive each year. Okay, so the original access point from the living space to the kitchen was right here. So as I told you earlier, this wall came down in the renovation, and I used just the space as kind of a blank canvas of how I wanted to lay this out. I really, really like to cook, and so a big goal or dream of mine was to have 4 ovens, which I do, and I'm very excited and grateful about. So another huge source of inspiration for the kitchen for me was this pink marble. It's called Rosa Statuario, and I bought all of it. I had found it at the stone vendor I work with and thought, I want to use this for a project. And then once I found this house and started working on this, knew that this was going to be incredible in the kitchen. So it pulls the same colors, again, from the terrazzo, which was my initial, source of inspiration for the color palette for this project, and decided to use all of it as much as I could. The only reason why I didn't wrap the vent hood in it is because we ran out. So carried it up the walls. I kept all of the existing windows in the house, so that was a little bit of a design challenge of how to work around that and to have the space feel balanced and symmetrical, even though it's really not. This house is a lot of color, and so to be able to layer so many colors, I made the design choice of doing white walls and white cabinets throughout most of the house. So I have 2 Shih Tzus and a Bernedoodle, and so it's also kind of, where do they go? And again, with limited space, so my problem solving was this space right here was the laundry room, and I added Dutch doors, and that's where my little dogs go when we're not home or at night. So that's their little room. And then if we're having a party or if I'm being recorded to talk about my house, I can close it off and it looks super clean. Then this is the bar space. So the access point to the kitchen originally was where that wall is, where I've got the bulletin board now. And so this is like a fun kind of closed off bar space for when we have parties. But I also, after we got the second larger dog, added another Dutch door here. So if she needs to go somewhere, that's where she goes and she can't get out. I had this made for my husband like 5 years ago as a present. It's moved a couple houses with us, but I think neon signs are a fun gift and also a way to kind of personalize things. Like, they can lean cheesy, but I think it's just a fun other light source, and you can get creative. One other thing I wanted to talk about is that I hate can lighting. I hate overhead lighting. In a perfect world, you only have lamps and chandeliers on dimmers. So in this house, I took out 99% of the can lights, which makes me really happy. There's a few in the kitchen. But at nighttime, just having these lamps turned on, the neon sign turned on, it creates like a really cool mood. Okay, and now welcome to our TV room. When I purchased the house, this was actually an indoor-outdoor patio sunroom, And where the fireplace was actually an charcoal grill. So during the renovation, we removed that, transformed it to a fireplace, and then really closed off the space to be a fully indoor room. This was the kind of a swinging door exit to outside, and since I closed the back door off in the kitchen, this is now our functioning back door. So this room has a really cool mix of the high and low ceiling. So you still get kind of the breeziness from the main space, but then it also feels more intimate and cozier. This is probably where we spend 80% of our time. The sectional I have it was from my last house. It's Gus Modern. And during the renovation and kind of my pink and green explosion, I reupholstered it in a Schumacher high performance velvet, which is, done really well. So that's definitely a hot tip, is if you have furniture that you like, but you don't want to get new stuff, reupholstering is really fun. These two slipper chairs I found in Palm Beach as well. They have the original upholstery on them, and I love them so much. To accommodate things that I need in the house with our fairly limited square footage, I decided to put a desk in here. So when I work from home, this is sort of my office. But I think this room has really beautiful natural light, and I really enjoy spending time in here. The Christmas tree in this room kind of came about by accident. I couldn't remember. And my daughter has a pink tree in her room every year, but I got them switched, but it's fine. So we've got a very, very juvenile, joyful, blush flocked tree. And I decided to put all of my ornaments that are like food themed or food adjacent on this tree this year, and pulled kind of a color that was sort of throughout all of them was sort of a dark, warm mauve-y. So I did warm brown velvet bows and some mauve bows to kind of tie in my bow theme from the rest of the house in here. This rug is a vintage sari silk. It is held up pretty well with all of my animals. I get it cleaned probably every 3 months. The Saarinen table I've had for a long time. It was a dining table in my apartment a long time ago, and it's lived lots of different lives. It's been a nightstand in one of my houses, but I love it and I'll always have it. This lamp, I've got a pair of these lamps that aren't twins, but they're cousins, and they were made by a friend of mine, Liz Marsh, who's an incredible lighting designer. Part of my plant collection is in here. It's been moved around to accommodate the Christmas tree as well. This cactus I've had for probably 5 years and kept it alive. And a hot tip on keeping a cactus alive is to never water it. So I've stopped watering it and it is thriving. So I also really like vintage flamingos, which I guess is sort of on brand, having a pink mid-century house. So this friend I've had for a while, and then the lion came from my husband's grandfather as well. And I think it's just, funny. One of my goals when we did the renovation was to have a functioning fireplace. This one does work, but I still haven't gotten around to figuring out how. But living in Houston, Texas, it's really hot all the time. So there's maybe one day a year that we need it, but it's on my to-do list. This desk is from a line USM, which I really like. You'll see it in my bedroom too, that I've used it as nightstands in there. Again, we're pairing like a hyper modern, hyper clean lines with some other stuff that kind of doesn't seem like it would make sense, but I think all in it does. So again, in my goal to not have any overhead lighting, but still needing some light, that is a vintage mid-century pendant light that I got at an antique store in Florida. And it's sort of pretending to be a lamp. So a challenge when designing with sectionals is where to put end tables and finding like the right plug of where it can go. So hanging a chandelier or a pendant light kind of in a random spot like that can work as far as, creating some soft lamp lighting. But if you don't have a plug or floor space to do it, it's a good idea. So in my quest for more storage, I found this piece. It's a vintage rattan bamboo, mid-century. It gives a little bit of the Golden Girls vibe, but it's okay. We like them. And has a very edited collection of tchotchkes I own. That's been, it's a challenge for me as kind of a maximalist to constantly be editing and taking things away. And I, change stuff all the time. So I've got a pretty big storage unit where I trade stuff, or, I also think with clients, layering really unique vintage pieces is so important. It's very hard to style a house with all new stuff. And so I've got a large collection of things that I can sell to clients, or that I've collected over the years. So this is our current situation on this shelf, but it does change a lot. Can talk about the design challenge of getting a fireplace over a charcoal grill, and when you're limited with kind of what you can do with an older house. So there's a lot of problem solving. I would also describe this house technology-wise as a dumb house, which I prefer. I enjoy the ritual every night of turning on all the lamps. So it's very, very low tech over here. The plug on the ceiling is not my first choice, but I've gotten over it because it's, yeah. But I think, problems, I'm very pro preservation and restoration. And so when you buy an older house like this, there's just, some problems that you have to solve. And is it always the most streamlined and clean? No, but it's okay. Okay, so before we take you into her room, I decided this year to create a garland to the entrance of her room. And the saying that void drives value, that when I was a child, I have two very left brain, wonderful parents, but they're not particularly creative. And as a kid, I worked on my room and thought about it so much. And so this is kind of really more for me than her. I think she's so used to me overdoing stuff that it's just kind of second nature. And I don't know if she even cares. But so this is kind of created for my 8-year-old self. And I also really love just the part of putting it up, using your hands and being creative and thinking about colors, and all of these pieces were left over from last year. So I'm going to give Violet a really fun Christmas entrance before we go into our room. Okay, so my favorite color is pink, and I think hers is too, because it has to be. Whenever we've moved in the past, I've always let her pick what color room she wanted. And so she was happy with this selection. And kind of my overall design vibe in here is a pink tone on tone, which is also very much related to her tree. So this tree this year has some of the leftover blush ornaments from last year. And then, I think it's really fun for kids, for them to be able to keep and hang up every year the ornaments that they've made at school, or things that they've been given. So this is kind of another family tree, but things that are important and meaningful to her. She was really pumped about decorating it, and then got tired after 5 minutes. So I pretty much did it all. She also went to the dollar store and got that red garland decorator room, which I really leaned into as part of this red bow vibe for her. So, again, this is a small ranch style house that was built in 1956, and the closet situation is not great, but I've just kind of leaned into it, and we edit, and we just don't have a ton of stuff. But with an 11-year-old, it can be a challenge because kids like to collect things, and so I'm constantly really pushing her to clean out her room. So again, what I had said earlier, that I kind of I wanted for this room to be sort of a monochrome pink, which, as you can see, I did layered with the draperies and with the stuff with her bed. I also feel like all girls probably want a pink sparkly canopy bed. Again, she may be indifferent to it, but I really like it. Then to kind of balance out the rest of sort of the grandma baskety vibe mixed with modern for the rest of the house, I chose these pretty contemporary sweet side tables from Anthropologie for her, and then found these lamps on Cherish, and then found these cool wicker lampshades. So the lighting in here is incredibly soft, which can also maybe be not ideal for an 11-year-old, but she's learning the importance of soft lighting. Okay, so as I talked about earlier, being very, very limited with storage in a 1956 ranch house, like this is our closet. So we're very edited and leaning into a minimal, maximal lifestyle. The bed is from Pottery Barn Teen, and I ended up getting her a double bed because this room is not huge, but I think it's great. And for kids, I would if your house isn't huge, but you want to get kids like a bed that they can grow into, that a full size is good. I've had this chaise lounge for forever. She's been recovered many times. And this is kind of, again, pulling back this hyper feminine French stuff that I like, mixing it in with contemporary stuff. But also, like, this room is very feminine. So I'm not pretending that we're doing any kind of huge masculine feminine balance in here. But, I think it's just like a soft, casual, room for her to enjoy. I also think that it's important for kids' rooms to not make it too nice, that you want them to be able to like relax and enjoy their stuff and not freak out if something spills. Just, for them to be able just to kind of not be worried in their own, especially in their own space. So Violet went to the dollar store and bought this red tinsel and decorated her bed with that. And so I kind of took that as my main inspiration place for what am I going to add to her room this year, which is where I kind of came up with the concept of doing red bows. And again, we're pulling little bits of red throughout the design all over the house, going back to the red candlesticks in the dining room, pulling with, when you're balancing color, it's kind of good to think about the entire project as sort of your palette. And if you can sprinkle things back that are in another room, it kind of creates, it helps create kind of an overall feeling of balance throughout the project. So I start working on this like in early November, and I do it on the weekends for a couple hours each day. So it's a very kind of slow meditative process that, it's the kind of thing like when it stops being fun, I stop. So just really being thoughtful and taking my time. It's just a really quiet, peaceful, creative outlet that I get to have once a year that I really, really enjoy. So the first thing I do is get all the different trees assembled and fluffed, and then kind of work in stages at each one. So I'll open up all the ornaments from the year before and kind of put them into piles or segments about what tree is going to go, what ornaments are going to go with what tree this year. A couple of years ago, I went through an aquarium phase. We had 2 fish tanks and I had an aquarium tree in the front, which all the fish ornaments have been put up for now. I'm sure they'll come back. So yeah, it's just kind of sorting through what I have and where they're going to go. Okay, last but not least, I'm going to take you to the primary bedroom. Follow me. Okay, on our way to my primary bedroom, I wanted to stop and show you the powder bath real quick. So I really think that a powder bath is a place in your house that you can make like a little expressive jewel box, that it doesn't really need to make sense with everything else you're doing, and you can really lean in and have fun with it. So to kind of balance out the Gucci wallpaper I did in the entryway, I looked and thought, what other wallpaper did they make that I could use in the powder bath? And so they have this hilarious tiger. So I wouldn't want to look at it all day, every day, but for a short time, it's really fun. And pulled from the stone in the kitchen, the grays and blacks. I also think a powder bath can be very moody, and it's not overwhelming because like it's just a little part of your house. So a huge goal of mine too in this house was to save the floors. So because of that, I kept the original vanity that was here and just painted it, and then replaced the top with black marble. I also, just to kind of be different, because you can in a powder bath, did rose gold plumbing hardware and towel ring and stuff. So it's just a fun mix of other things that I've done. The pendant lights are also from Dutton Brown, which was the vendor I used for cabinet pulls in the kitchen. I've used those a few places in the house. So again, just kind of tying in sort of the overall feel in a small, fun space. Okay, now we're going to continue and I'm going to show you my room. So going back to kind of my original color palette for the house from the initial design was doing pink and green throughout. And so the color of this room is Farrow and Ball Vert de Terre. And I think it's one of the best soft greens that you can use. I've used it in many projects after this. It's a very soothing color. It almost even though it is green, it's so soft that it almost leans neutral. I think, lighting is so important, especially in your bedroom. So the lighting, it's pretty dark in this room, but I love it. Again, to accommodate with our really limited storage, I have a dresser, which typically you don't really see in primary bedrooms. The bedding is a mix of Biscuit and Annie Selke, which are both really great lines. Again, to kind of balance, going back to the TV room where I have the USM desk, I've balanced that using USM nightstands. So again, a hyper kind of streamlined modern product mixed with some really soft kind of other weird things. The two lights on the nightstand are from Visual Comfort, and then the two lamps on the dresser are vintage that have been turned into lamps. So again, a balance of old and new. Again, I do feel really strongly about plants, especially in your bedroom, that they improve the air quality and just visually they're so pretty to look at. So I've found this, I was shopping for a client at one of my plant vendors, and he had in this huge money tree, and I just thought I've got to have that in my room. So it's pretty cool to wake up in the morning and look at a tree. This rug in here is a vintage Ushak mixed with the swivel chairs from Roche Bobois. So these were another part of that order from the initial renovation. I got a few pieces from them. And again, to kind of balance out throughout the house, things to keep it all consistent and cohesive. The one overhead light in here is a Murano flush mount that I got from the same vendor that did the dining room chandelier. So again, like a very kind of hyper feminine, soft lighting mixed with some contemporary pieces. So I feel that plants are so important and you should have them in every room, especially in your bedroom. It improves the air quality and just kind of the overall energy of the space. I found this super large money tree at one of my plant vendors. I was not shopping for a tree for myself, but found it and thought, okay, that needs to come and live in my room. And then the mantle, okay, so this mantle I've had it for forever. It's old. She's lived a bunch of different places. I do like the concept of using a vintage mantle like a console table. So, I mean, this is definitely an opportunity where you could have nothing or low table under the TV, but I think it's a fun conversation piece and I think it's really pretty. Okay, so next I'll talk about the window treatments that I decided to do in this space. The ceilings are not particularly tall, so I decided to do a ceiling mount track, which makes the room feel as tall as it can. I think it's good at nighttime if you can to have the option of having blackout. So I did a double track of this Schumacher fabric lined in blackout that I can close at nighttime, and then during the day, I think it's nice to have some light filtering unlined. So these are a white linen blend that's unlined that I kind of keep closed or open if it's pretty, but it creates a really lovely light filtering effect. And then you can also have full privacy with blackout using 2 tracks. The 3 pieces of art in here, so we've got this watercolor study by an artist named Evelyn Boren. It's actually a combination of watercolor and charcoal. I think it's really lovely and pulls, again, all of the colors, like the dark green and eggplant from the chairs are in there. The small painting over the dresser is by this artist who I'm obsessed with. Her name is Mandy Racine, and they're like French Rococo, Marie Antoinette-ish paintings. So, I mean, if you look really closely, it feels like very abstract, but if you kind of zoom out, you can tell that it's figurative. The name of the painting is Dancing in the Pavilion. I think it's so cute. And then I found this scarf. It's a vintage Gucci scarf with mushrooms on it. And to kind of, I didn't want a wallpaper in here. I think it's important for bedrooms to feel very soothing and calm, but I thought this was like a really fun nod to what I've done in the rest of the house. So had it framed with, pulling kind of the pink from the background, kind of a mauvey pink matte, and then a light natural wood frame to kind of tie in with the rest of the things I'm doing in this room. So when it comes to home, the holidays are a really special time to spend at home. Part of spending all this time doing these decorations is a reason to be home together, to enjoy them. And I try to have a couple of parties to get my friends to come over, and it's just a great excuse to get together and to try to mindfully slow down and spend time in your home.